25, breaks a couple of tackles, and look at him go! He could go all the way! Touchdown!
Winning is not a sometimes. It's an always. Winning is a habit.
What's up, sports fans? Welcome back to Gut Check Podcast. This is episode 1 of season 4 and our very first video podcast. So thanks for joining us. You can now see my beautiful face. I'm your host, Matt Williams. With me, as always, good friend and co-host Seth Floyd Hansen. Good to see you this morning, man. How you doing?
I'm doing. We're living in some crazy times right now. This is basically like my new work attire and wardrobe and office. I have a fantastic office, if you can't tell, right behind me. But dude, quarantine life as a public school teacher, this is it. It's been crazy, but this is what it is.
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, so little sports out there. Obviously not the biggest concern, but it is weird, being trapped in your house all the time and not having some sports to just turn on to. So we are happy that the draft is right around the corner. And it's just good to be back talking some football. We gave you some time off. We didn't do a post-Super Bowl episode. We know that was pretty heartbreaking. So have you fully recovered yet?
I mean, look, you don't ever recover. Like that's those two, and I learned this from 2013, like when we lost to the Ravens. Like you don't ever recover. You just kind of get to a point where you can function again, but you don't ever fully recover. And this one even more because the lead they had, at least against the Ravens, they played a bad game and they almost came back. This was, you had a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter, and there's a million takes on this. I'm in the stance that it was the defense just fell asleep or just stopped playing. Yeah. I don't know what it was. I'm not blaming Jimmy Garoppolo on this whole deal. Chris Jones had a couple passes he batted down at the line of scrimmage, and if he doesn't do that, they probably win the game. So that's not on Jimmy Garoppolo, but it's always hot news to talk about a quarterback and try to make a change. That's why it's coming up. So to answer your question, no, I'm never going to recover from it. I'll be able to function, but it's always going to hurt. And that's that sounds dramatic, but like, I think you're the same way with the Cowboys. Like you wouldn't recover. You'll never be to a point where like, it's fine. Like it's just going to hurt. It's just always going to sting. Even if they go on to win it in the next couple of years, like that, the Chiefs won against the Chiefs will always sting. So.
Yeah, I think it would definitely depend on how the Super Bowl works out. You're always going to be hurting if they lose, but like a Falcons fan blowing a 28-3 lead in the fourth quarter,
Sure.
I don't know if you ever get back at all,
Yeah, no, that's definitely not the choke job the Niners did, and yeah, it was Patrick Mahomes. They'd shut him down most of the game, and then if you're not playing great the whole game, like he's gonna burn you at some point, and just the way it unfolded, man, it was a long day. So fans, sorry, we'd planned on doing a Super Bowl recap show, but that hurt me so bad. I needed some time off. I needed to get my crap together. So.
Yeah, and then it went right into our season break, so it was perfect, and we're back at it right before the NFL draft. So obviously there's been a lot going on in free agency so far. We're not going to hit on all of that right now. We may bring it up in conversation, but we'll do a full State of the NFL podcast after the draft. So today we're going to hit our top 10 for our mock drafts. I know I got like 4 pages of notes over here on my other screen here, ready to go.
Let's go.
And then we'll get to the rest of the first round next episode right before the draft. So without further ado, man, let's just jump right into it. Let's hit the top 10 real quick. So obviously it starts with Cincinnati Bengals, then the Washington Redskins, Lions, Giants, Dolphins, Chargers at 6, Panthers, Cardinals, Jaguars, and then the Browns rounded out at number 10. And man, been a lot of talk already, some big names coming out of college, a lot of hype right here. So right off the bat, Cincinnati Bengals at number 1. Well, actually, let's start first. How are you doing your mock draft? What are some of your rules here?
So in the past, when we've done this, I've tried to like predict and play prediction GM and try to decide what they're going to do. And that's tough, one, for a couple of reasons, especially this year with the virtual draft, how people are evaluating players. Like it's going to be weird. So that's impossible. Two, I'm not plugged into anybody. Like I can read and I can do whatever, but I don't have any sources. Like I don't have any inside stuff. And so this year was 100% what GM Seth Floyd Hansen would do if he were GM for these teams. And some of it's gonna be off the wall. A lot of it's gonna be predicted, but a lot of it I think is pretty out there because I would go way different than a lot of different people. Now, a lot of my picks and a lot of your picks, like you can make because you don't have a fan base you have to please, you don't have an owner you have to please. This is just how I think I would build that franchise. But 100%, this is in this brain, what's going on in this brain and how I would build a team.
It's big brain time right now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I went the same way. So I'll talk about some trades, but I don't execute any trades in my mock draft. But yeah, I went GM Matt Williams. You know, this is my pitch to be a GM for one of these teams here. So
exactly.
A lot of my information came from Pro Football Focus because I love what they do with their draft analysis. So I kind of took their big board. I looked at some team needs, and then I try to fill the need right there because, yeah, like you said, we're not plugged in. We don't have the time to fully analyze and watch all the tape for these guys. So I just have to take sort of what's out there,
sure,
and then plug and play best we can. So yeah, let's dive right into it, man. I'll let you start. Cincinnati Bengals, #1 overall pick. They're on the clock. What you got?
So I planned on doing this like Jordan Love joke that I was gonna take him. not gonna do that though. Listen, I'm sorry, I'm peeking over at my notes on my side table here, but I need to say a couple things, and I'll get to Tua, but my pick here is Joe Burrow. It is. That's what I think I would do. I wouldn't say I'm 100% locked in on this because I don't know. Like I like Joe Burrow a lot, but the #1 overall pick is you have to hit it. You have to. Yeah. And if you don't, it just sets you back. And I did in my notes, I say Joe Burrow, like how do you through 60 touchdown passes, like undefeated season, won a championship, like how do you not
in the
go
SEC,
with Joe Burrow?
Yeah.
In the SEC. But I do say here, if I would listen to offers. I would listen to every offer I could. And I'm telling you right now, if Miami came to me and was like, we will give you all 3 first-round picks, like I probably would do it. I probably would because you can't, like the quarterback is so important. Guess what? You could take a quarterback at 5 and then take other 2 guys that would be foundational players. And that's much more important to me than taking a guy who I think is probably going to be pretty good, but I don't think, I mean, is anybody ever a slam dunk? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like Baker Mayfield went #1 overall a couple years ago, and Baker could still turn out to be good, but I think the living up to being the #1 overall pick, like I think I've written that off. He's never going to live up to that. And so to me, man, I would be all about first round draft picks. And so I would take Joe Burrow. In my mock, Miami wasn't going to give me their first 3-round picks, so I decided to take Joe Burrow.
Yeah. So I think we talked about this, so that's probably why we're a little bit on the same page. But with the Cincinnati Bengals on the clock here with #1, yeah, I'm with you, dude. I'm listening to offers from Miami specifically because they have those 3 first-round picks. I wouldn't necessarily only settle for all 3 of their first round, though, but I'd want their 5 and their 18. They can keep their 26, but give me probably a 2nd and a 3rd along with that. Yeah, so I'm listening, but if not, I go Joe Burrow. Also, I'm not totally sold. Like, I like the idea of keeping Andy Dalton for a little bit and getting a cheaper quarterback to develop. That's why if you can drop to 5, Tua may still be available, and then you pick up Tua there, develop him under Andy Dalton, because the Bengals just need a lot of pieces. So if you go all in on a quarterback, you don't have a lot of draft capital. You're still probably going to be at best like a 5-11 team. You know, I don't think he's going to get you a whole lot of more wins right off the bat. So try to get some more draft picks. But no trades right here. Joe Burrow, you got to pick him.
The other thing, too, is Zach Taylor is on the hot seat. I don't care he is on the hot seat. He's supposed to be this McVay disciple, quarterback guru, offensive innovator, you know what I mean? And they weren't good last year. and he wants a quarterback. And right now he can live off of, look, Andy Dalton's not my kind of guy, but he's on the hot seat. To be fair, in Zach Taylor's defense, I read a stat the other day that the Bengals led in 12 of their games last year. Now, they only won 2 games, and that's like a historical, like no team has ever had that stat before. You got to seal the deal, but at least they were competitive in some of their games, including week 1 against.
Yeah, they were.
Week 1 on the road against Seattle, like week 1 is kind of fluky, but that's a game that they were competitive and could have won. So take that for what it's worth.
Yeah. So then we'll jump to number 2. We're both locked in on Joe Burrow. Have some questions, rightfully so, with that number 1 pick, but Joe Burrow seems like the consensus there. So number 2, Washington Redskins. They got Dwayne Haskins last year, and I think he's got potential. So I'm going to say Ron Rivera goes defense here, and you pick Chase Young, edge player out of Ohio State. I mean, we saw what Nick Bosa can do. We saw what Joey Bosa can do. Young had more sacks than both those guys at Ohio State. I mean, he's a freak athlete, one of the best prospects coming out of the draft. I think you just get good pieces here and keep building up that defense. Ron Rivera wants a good defense for his team. So, yeah, Chase Young seems like the smart move here.
So I was reading stuff this morning, and I think it might have been late last night too, that the Redskins are like fielding calls in real life, like for number 2. And I'm curious, and because I'm always like, I'm 49er driven, obviously. I'm curious. You're the GM, okay? You're the GM for the Redskins, and John Lynch calls you up, and he says, "Look, I'll give you pick 13 and pick 31 for number 2." Would you pull the trigger on that trade?
No, I would need more than 13 and 31, I think.
You'd need like a next year's second or next year's first?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think that's quite enough.
Okay. I think if I just was thinking out loud, like if I'm John Lynch and I had a chance to draft Chase Young and put him on the other side of Nick Bosa, I probably would. I'd give up the next 3 first-round picks for number 2, assuming, because I'm banking on next year's 1 being late again. Like, hopefully it's 32, but I'm planning on it being 25 or later probably. Yeah. And so to me, if you have Chase Young and Nick Bosa, like that's, I don't know how you could ever throw the ball on him. Anyway, I just was curious. So you would say no, it would take 3 first-round picks probably for you to. Okay. Well, you said everything. I think Chase Young, I mean, Ohio State is pass rush you, obviously, with Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa, Chase Young. Like, I don't think you can go wrong here. The Redskins are one of those teams where I would field I think they're smart for taking calls. You're more than a pass rusher away, including a quarterback, like probably not Dwayne Haskins. And I think I think we are at a point in the NFL where when a guy has played 8 to 10 games, like you kind of know what he's going to be. He can improve, but Dwayne Haskins is not going to go from what he was last year to a top 5 quarterback. He's just not. You're hoping that he becomes like an average stabilizer right now that can maybe, if you have the pieces around him, could lead you to a wild card berth or something. So anyway, I would go Chase Young though. I think he's one of the can't miss prospects in this draft.
Yeah. And he plays right away. He immediately makes your team better. And I think that's important. And we see, I mean, like mentioning Nick Bosa, how much just getting after a quarterback can help a defense out. So, it's pretty important. So, Detroit Lions, number 3. What you got there?
So, this is where things are going to get a little crazy, Matt.
Uh-oh.
And remember, yesterday we were talking a little bit, previewing this episode, and I told you I've got a pretty good Chargers and Tua take, and I'm gonna give it to you right now. If you're ready for this, all right, you're sitting down, right?
Yes.
So I
can lower my chair if I need to get lower down though.
I just don't want you to fall over.
Okay.
I have the Chargers trade into number 3. So in my draft, I had some trades. They're super hard to predict. The values are hard, but I didn't get really into the value. Just the Chargers are going to give them number 6, and then they're going to give them a second-round pick or something like that. They're jumping up. They're jumping to get Tua. Here's my deal with Tua. If he doesn't have his hip injury, like there's a real debate, and there's a good chance he's number one. This debate is not with Justin Herbert. And I'll get to Herbert in a minute. I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm not a Herbert guy. And I think you and I are on the same page with that. Not a Herbert guy. For me, the Chargers, I'm jumping for Tua for a couple things. One, he's not a running back. He's not a receiver. He's not a linebacker.
Yeah.
And I have concerns about the hip, but Tua's ceiling is so high if you hit on him. He's so high. And so I'm taking Tua, one, because of that. Two, because I'm a team that has weapons. Like, I've got Keenan Allen. I've got Hunter Henry. I've got Austin Eckler, who is this great receiving back. I've got some pieces. Like, we're not a bad team. And here's my other thing. This isn't why you take Tua, but I had this thought while I was working out, during my therapy session, and I get all sure. I get all introspective. Do you know what's Tua's nationality, Matt? Or what's his?
Is he from Hawaii?
He is. So he's Polynesian. He's Polynesian, right? How relevant are the Chargers in LA?
Irrelevant.
Like you've got I think the LA Galaxy are more popular than the Chargers
probably,
right now.
Yeah.
They at least fill up that same stadium that the Chargers were playing in. Do you know what a large demographic of LA is? Or
I think you're going to say Polynesian.
They're Polynesian. That's what I'm going to say. They're Polynesian. I've been fortunate enough between like my religious associations and playing football and like the different areas of my life. Like I've associated with a lot of Polynesians in my life. One of the greatest demographic of people. Like I wish I was Polynesian. I really do. And part of that is because of how they treat their own, take care of their own, and support their own. Yeah. It's not like any other culture like I've ever seen. I'm telling you right now, Chargers, you're going to have this huge following, and you're going to start seeing the stadium fill up for Charger games because of Tua, because of the Polynesian staple in that community. There's a large Polynesian group. Now, if I'm the Chargers, I'm not drafting Tua based off of that, but that's going to be a really nice side effect for drafting Tua. Even if Tua's not great, even if his hip is bothering him, you're going to have a lot of those Polynesians in LA start going to Charger games and start buying Charger gear because of Tua, because they look after their own and they support their own. And so I think drafting Tua for the Chargers is a slam dunk. Like to me, the only thing that holds Tua back is his hip injury. And it's hard because they can't send their own doctors out. But if he is healthy, he's going to light it up because he's really accurate. And I get that he played last year with 5 receivers that are first round picks probably. Like they're that good. Yeah. But Tua's accurate. Tua came in as a true freshman in the second half of the national championship game against Georgia. And he didn't play perfect, but he didn't get rattled. And he threw a 30-yard bomb to win the national championship walk-off. Dude's tough. Guy's a winner. He is respectable. He's a good kid. He's the kind of guy that you want. And guess what? You have Tyrod, who sneaky Tyrod is a good quarterback who led
to the playoffs with the Bills.
That alone, he led the Buffalo Bills to the playoffs. So let Tua sit for a season or half a season or whatever it takes. As long as Tyrod doesn't turn over the ball, the Chargers are going to be in the playoff hunt because they have weapons. I think Eckler can run the ball, and I think you can check it down to him, and that's what Tyrod's going to do. And I think it's a no-brainer, and I'm trading up if I'm the Chargers. Because if Tua is as good as we think, imagine Tua Tagovailoa, hope I said that right, a Polynesian in LA leading this team, a good team with a lot of weapons. They're going to be relevant. They're going to be better than the Rams this year. I really think that. They're going to be better than the Rams this year. I just think it's a slam dunk pick. So that's I went the Polynesian cultural route that I know I haven't heard yet. And so I think that's a solid take by yours truly, my humble brag. I'm just saying.
Your humble opinion, a solid take. Maybe that brings in the Polynesian crowd to the Gut Check podcast.
I hope
which we'll appreciate.
I hope so.
So that was a good take, good long take on Tua going number 3. The Chargers trading up for him. So, I think the Lions definitely could trade out of this spot. I know the GM, Bob Quinn, was already taking phone calls. There was a report about that, so he's looking to get out of it. But if you're going to stay at number 3, just get some talent on defense. So I go Jeff Okudah from Ohio State, best corner in the prospect right now in the draft. I do like the idea of the Lions trading out because they need a lot of help as well. Because
sure.
Matt Patricia has not been doing well as a head coach so far. So he needs some talent on that team to try to win. So I don't think they go quarterback. There has been some talk about the Lions getting a quarterback. I don't think that makes sense if you're going to keep rolling with Patricia. You just need to get him some talent and try to get him to win some games. So we'll move on from that pick. But yeah, I got Jeff Okudah, cornerback from Ohio State.
It's a good pick.
Number 4, Giants staying there. I think they could trade as well. I think there could be a lot of trades this top 10, honestly. A lot of people moving around trying to get quarterbacks and just trying to be flashy. But I think the Giants just need to go smart here, get offensive tackle Andrew Thomas from Georgia. He's the best tackle in the draft right now. It might be a slight reach for a lineman at number 4. None of them absolutely jump out as top 5. But if anyone is, he's the best. And you have to protect Daniel Jones. You have to protect Saquon Barkley. Give those guys some time and some running room. So shore up that offensive line.
I like it. You can't go wrong. I agree with you. If you're the Giants, if you're any team in the top 10, honestly, if you're in the top 5, like I'm looking to trade out if I'm a bad team. I am because one, half the picks miss anyway. So you're better off having more first round picks because there's talent all through the draft. And it's crazy how often guys don't reach their potential. So if I'm a bad team, I'm looking to trade out. So Lions for sure. And then Giants, I would do the same. But with the Giants here, I decided to go defense. In my draft, Jeff Okudah is still on the board. I've heard things. Okay. Yeah. I've heard some things, and not insider source, but just stuff I listen to and read, is that a lot of GMs and teams think that the media has Jeff Okudah wrong, and that the gap between him and CJ Henderson is a lot closer than people think. And so I'm going to have the Giants pass on Jeff Okudah here, and I'm going to have them go Isaiah Simmons. And I think that you got to have some defense. I mean, they're a team with a lot of holes. Isaiah Simmons he's a versatile guy, played at Clemson, from a championship program. He's got a lot of tape on him. He's played a lot. And I think that with some of the tackles, there's some good tackles in this draft. I think top 5 is pretty high for any of them, to be honest. And I think Isaiah Simmons is a guy that people are really high on. And he just brings some stability to your defense. And so I'm going Isaiah Simmons at number 4.
I think that's a solid pick. I love Isaiah Simmons. He can play anywhere on the field. And yeah, I did say Thomas was a little bit of a stretch. So Pro Football Focus had him 8 overall. So yeah, 4's a little high, whereas Isaiah Simmons, Pro Football Focus has him at 7. Obviously not the tell-all, but that's just kind of where those both stack up. So yeah, I think that's a smart pick. Simmons, I mean, linebacker, safety, outside linebacker, the guy can play everywhere. So you might as well, you fill multiple needs with one player. It's a pretty smart pick.
Sure.
So that takes us to number 5. You have Joe Burrow and Tua off the board. So where's Miami going?
So I did when I first was doing this, and I when I'm making my notes, I type things in and let it sit and see how it feels, and then I make adjustments. And it was hard because I think Miami is gonna take a quarterback at this, regardless of who's on the board. I think number 5 is gonna be a quarterback for him.
Yeah.
But for me, I decided I'm passing on a quarterback. And here's what I would do if I'm Miami. First off, if I could be, aside from my personal emotional feelings, I love the 49ers, if I could be a GM of any team, right now, I think it would be the Dolphins. You've got 3 first-round picks this year. You finished the season really strong, including a game against the Patriots, who had something to play for, and they beat them. You don't have it's not a great team, but it's not a bad team. It's an up-and-coming team. It looks like you got the right coach. And so what I'm doing here, knowing I've got 3 first-round picks at number 5, I'm taking Derek Brown, the interior D lineman from Auburn. I'm a huge believer. Any teams out there looking for a scout or a GM, listen to me. I'm a huge believer and you if you can't control the line of scrimmage, like
Yeah.
you can't do anything. And so right here, I'm taking Derrick Brown. I'm going to solidify that defensive line a little bit. We'll take care of the fun, flashy weapons later in the draft, but right now I'm going to take probably the best interior D lineman. I guess you could talk about Javon Kinlaw, though he plays outside more. But Derrick Brown, I think, becomes an anchor, and he does a lot for your football team.
Yeah. No, I think that makes a lot of sense. It's a pretty smart pick. The Dolphins are able to win some games with not much talent, it seems like. Not a lot of big names, but Tua is still on my board here. So if Miami hasn't traded up, if nobody's jumped ahead of them to get Tua, and Tua is still on the board here, you have to pick them. And you still have Fitzpatrick, who is more than serviceable at quarterback. So if you need to rest Tua for a little bit, you have that option. So you need to start rebuilding. I get what you're saying with the control the line of scrimmage, get some flashy players later. That makes sense. But you need to start building around a quarterback of the future, and I think Tua is the guy. So I think we'd all agree if he's still on the board at this time, you got to pick him. I mean, he's the top 2 prospect in this draft.
Sure, and I will say if Tua had been on the board of the Chargers and traded up, I would have taken Tua. The other thing I talk about in my notes is there's still free agents out there. Like, you could roll with Fitzpatrick. I would be really tempted if I was their GM to go sign Cam to a 1-year deal if he would take it. And just see, because if Cam can play, he's not a stopgap Fitzpatrick. Like, you could play with Cam for the next 3 to 5 years and make a run, especially with Tom Brady out of that division now. Like, that's probably where I would look. I would try and entice Cam. I would draft some great players. I would show what we did at the end of the year, and I'd say, look, come on a 1-year prove it deal. If I promise you, if you produce and you stay healthy, like, I'll reward you with a bigger deal next season. Yeah, that's what I would probably do.
I think that makes sense. He's a former MVP. I mean, been to the Super Bowl. He's got talent if he's healthy. So yeah, it makes sense. So I have Chargers sitting at 6 now. You probably got Detroit now based off that trade. A lot of people want Justin Herbert or mock having Justin Herbert go right here at number 6. I think you and I agree he's just not top 10 talent. He has a lot of potential, but for me, if I'm general manager, I don't want to draft potential and a project at number 6 overall. Really, in the first round, it's tough. I need to draft somebody who I think is going to play right away. So I still have Isaiah Simmons on my board. Love the guy, and I think he would just lock down that defense right now. They need some help at linebacker. They need some help at edge to help Ingram and Bosa. And then Derwin James coming off an injury. If James is healthy, he shores up that backfield, and then you can move Simmons all over the place. So for all the reasons you said, draft Isaiah Simmons earlier, I go Isaiah Simmons right here at 6.
Dude, Isaiah Simmons to the Chargers, if Derwin James is healthy and you have Ingram and you have Bosa, man, that would be a filthy defense and a great way to go for sure. You're right. I do have the Lions here. I think so. I listen to Chris Sims. He has a podcast that I'll listen to from time to time. And I think he's pretty well plugged in. And what he's hearing was 2 things, is that the Lions really want to trade out. That's pretty well known. Mm-hmm. Like, they want to trade out, but the reason they want to trade out is because they don't think Okudah's a top 5 guy. They think it's a lot closer to CJ Henderson and Okudah. Regardless, the Lions need a cornerback. They traded Darius Slay. I mean, they probably need a lot of things, but it feels like a good pick. And I do think that even though it's close between Okudah and CJ Henderson, that they are going to go Okudah. Cornerback out of Ohio State, who has a lot of, Ohio State has produced very good defenders in the NFL, and I think that Okudah is going to be one of them. I don't think Okudah is going to be, he's not going to have a Richard Sherman, Darrelle Revis type of career, but I think that Marshawn Lattimore has done some good things with the Saints, and I think that they're hoping if you get that out of him, like, you should be pleased, especially since that's probably the guy you were going to take at 3. You traded back 3 spots, picked up an extra second-round pick. Like, it's a slam dunk. Yeah, that's what you should do. And I think that's super safe for the Lions. If you're sitting at 3, to trade back still in the top 10, because I don't think anybody else is going to take him. If you get to 6, if you traded to 10, then maybe someone would jump in front of you. But, yeah, I have Okudah going here.
Yeah, there's not really a need for any of those teams ahead of you. So as long as someone doesn't jump, it makes sense for the Lions.
Yeah.
All right, Carolina Panthers, new head coach, new quarterback. They're drafting at number 7. What are you doing, GM?
Well, I think the Panthers are thinking Derek Brown is going to fall to them. I think that right now that's what they're hoping for. Who knows with Matt Rule and with Joe Brady as their OC now, like they want to let it fly. Like who knows? Maybe they'll do something crazy and they'll take a Jerry Jeudy or a CeeDee Lamb or someone in the first.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't do it. I think that I would be bummed Derek Brown is off the board. I think they will be too. And I think they're going to go with Javon Kinlaw, who like Javon Kinlaw is from everything. Again, we're quarantined, so I'm reading everything I can about draft stuff. And it sounds like Javon Kinlaw is higher within the NFL circles than like the media circles. And honestly, the NFL circles is the only thing that matters. And that a lot of people think Javon Kinlaw is going to sneak into the top 10. So with Derek Brown coming off the board, your only other guy who's really worth a top 15 pick at defensive line is probably Javon Kinlaw. And so I think they decide to just jump on him after missing out on Derek Brown. So I have Javon Kinlaw at 7.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. So Pro Football Focus, you were hinting at it, has Derek Brown at 16th and then Javon Kinlaw at 13th, actually. They're with that. They have Kinlaw ahead. Not a flashy pick here for me. I go Tristan Wirfs, the tackle from Iowa. You just got steady Teddy Bridgewater as your quarterback now. You're just making McCaffrey the highest paid running back in the league. You might as well protect both of those guys. I don't think Bridgewater is the type of guy who's going to make broken plays happen. So you need to protect him. You need to give him some time. And he can be a very good quarterback. You saw it last year in New Orleans. You saw it in Minnesota before he got hurt. So, give them protection, give them some time. It fills a need. And then Wirfs is the number 9 overall prospect right here. You're picking him up at 7th. Not too much of a reach. I think it makes sense.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah. And then, again, I go back-to-back tackles here. I'll just jump right into it. Cardinals picking at number 8. Wirfs is off the board. Thomas is off the board. So Jedrick Wills Jr., tackle out of Bama. Bama knows how to make some offensive tackles. They make some good offensive linemen there. So you have your franchise quarterback. You just traded for a top 5, if not top 2 wide receiver in D-Hop. And then you have Kenyon Drake as a running back, who's another really good running back who if healthy, can help you out. So get some offensive tackle depth, get some O-line depth, and protect your franchise quarterback there.
I'll keep it quick. I'm in the same line as you. I actually have all the tackles on the board, and I have Justin Wirfs plugged in here. It sounds like Pro Football Focus has Andrew Thomas higher than Wirfs.
Yeah.
But just from what I'd read, a lot of people are high on Wirfs. What I've read is that there's like 3 or 4 tackles that are kind of all in the same group, and it's kind of your preference as a team, like who you like. And I just picked Wirfs. Could be any of the tackles though here, but I'll for all the same reasons. Protect Kyler Murray. I think he was the second highest sacked quarterback in the league last year, which is astounding given his skill set, which is he can move, he can scoot, and the fact that he's still getting sacked is not a good thing. So if you don't take a tackle here, it's a huge mistake, and you're not doing him any favors. I know that Kyler Murray is like talking up CeeDee Lamb, and I'm not gonna lie, CeeDee Lamb and DeAndre Hopkins, like what a wrecking, you know what I mean? Like how do you stop that? Well, how you stop that is you sack the quarterback before he can get the ball out of his hands, and that to me is what matters. And the crazy thing for the Cardinals, like I don't want the Cardinals to be good. I'm gonna let all my emotion here. I don't want them to be good. But Kenyon Drake, like I thought that was a stupid trade when they made that trade. I was like, you have David Johnson, just use him better. Just be smarter. Like the dude can play. They put Kenyon Drake in, and he was a completely different running back than what he was in Miami. And so whatever they saw, like they figured it out. And then they were able to trade him. Like crazy, great move by Steve Keim of the Cardinals. And so just give them a little time, and you're gonna see that offense that wasn't terrible last year improve even more.
Yeah. I think it could be scary if they put it all together. So unfortunate for any Seahawk or 49er fans out there.
Yeah. Sure.
All right. So Jacksonville Jaguars, number 9. I think this could be an exciting pick. What do you have for them here?
Oh man, so this is where remember I messaged you yesterday and I was like, look, you're gonna fight me on some of my like logic on some of this. I'm not a Herbert guy. I'm not.
Yeah.
But if I'm Jacksonville, and part of it, I did this mock and I didn't go back and adjust it. Like they all of a sudden in the last 2 days, Jacksonville's just trading away everybody. They're just trying to get rid of everybody, including Fournette. They want to get rid of their pass rusher, even the defensive back they're trying to get rid of. And so if I'd made this like yesterday, I might have gone a different route. But I have the Jaguars going Justin Herbert, and here's why. I don't think Minshew's the guy. Like Minshew to me is like a little better than Dwayne Haskins, but he's never gonna be a top 5 quarterback. I don't think he's going to be a top 10 quarterback. I think he's a stopgap, like a Kirk Cousins. Like he's going to have one of those kind of careers. Like, and so I'm not buying Minshew. I think Herbert probably isn't going to be a top 10 guy, but at least he has that like potential for it. And I think that if you do hit on Herbert, I think if he is good, like you're going to sell tickets, you're going to get. You have something to build around, but I don't even know where to start for the Jaguars because they haven't already sold off their assets and now are rebuilding. Like they're in the middle of selling off assets as all this is going on. And I think that I would get to that point and I'd be like, whoa, Herbert fell to me at 9. Like, do I really like Gardner Minshew? I don't know. And I think I would take him. And I know that goes against some of my, I was more on the I was more on the Herbert train when I thought Fournette was going to be there, who's not amazing, but he stabilizes this deal a little bit. I could hand the ball off a lot. But that's what I decided to go with.
Yeah. Not feeling Minshew. Listen, I mean, I don't have Minshew's stats pulled up right now. I could, but honestly, I think he should have been the offensive rookie of the year. He had better stats than Kyler Murray, if you look at it, and he didn't even play the full season. Is he going to be a top 5 quarterback? I don't know, but I think he shows some potential, and I think you need to get him some weapons, and that's why I go Jerry Jeudy here. I go back and forth between Lamb and Jeudy. Which one's the top? I think it's kind of your preference, but Jeudy probably has some more upside, better route runner than Lamb, but very similar. I don't think you can miss on either one of those guys, so I go Jerry Jeudy. I won't belabor the point on Herbert. Yeah, I don't know. He does have upside. I get your point there. Who was the last quarterback from Oregon to actually tear up the NFL, though?
I mean, Mariota played all right for a bit, but not. Okay. No, he didn't tear. I wouldn't describe it as tearing up the league.
I'll answer it for you. It was Dan Fouts. Okay, he went to Oregon. That was the last one to actually really do well.
What about Joey Harrington, dude? Joey Harrington was a.
So sorry, Joey Harrington.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Oregon really produces these quarterbacks, and now I don't know. Things have changed, obviously, year to year. You can't always base it off of that, but it does come to mind. So I'm hesitant on Herbert. I think you can go in on Minshew, get him some weapons. But yeah, I'm with you though. I don't really know what Jacksonville's trying to do. Getting rid of Fournette, getting rid of all these guys. I don't know what their play is here.
I have in my notes too, like worst case scenario, and this is, to be real, like I'm trying to do this from my own perspective. This might have been the one pick that I think I could see the Jags doing, and I don't know if I would do it. But I think the worst case scenario is, look, like worst case scenario is you have 2 really good actually worst case scenario is both of them are terrible, which might be real.
Yeah.
Maybe one of them's really good, and then you trade like the Cardinals did with Josh Rosen, and you trade one of them. Like you could do that, and that would be fine. But you bring some stability to the organization if you find the quarterback. The reason I didn't have Miami doing this is because I feel like they already have good pieces around them. But and you could go sign a guy. You had Fitzpatrick. The Jags, I don't think, have anybody, and so taking someone else isn't going to really improve your team a ton for this season. So if you're not going to make a big jump this season, you might as well draft a quarterback, see if you have something and you hit on someone. But I don't think Jacksonville even knows what they're doing. I don't think they have any idea. I think Jacksonville is going to get out of Jacksonville at some point. I don't think they belong in Jacksonville anymore. You know, I have had a lot of talks, though. I think the Chargers need to leave LA as well. So anyway,
I think Jacksonville's just selling the team so they can move to London for cheap.
Yeah, I think they're going to move to London. I really do. I just want to hit one thing on the Chargers. You and I have talked about how they need to go to Salt Lake. I just want to throw like that's like a great
official now. Yeah.
That's like
on the podcast. It's official.
You easily West. They need more teams in that kind of region of the country. You would own that market along with the Idaho market. And guess what? There's a huge Polynesian demographic located in Salt Lake. Probably bigger than LA. I'm just saying there's a great fit.
They probably just need to move to Hawaii then.
They could move to Hawaii, but
that's what you're getting at.
But I'm just saying, like for real, Salt Lake has one of the biggest Polynesian demographics in the country. I'm just saying, and you would absolutely kill it if you had two on your team in Salt Lake. Just saying.
Okay. So it's a multi-step process here. As GM, you get to you relocate to Salt Lake City. Okay.
Oh yeah.
I got it now. I'm following the plan now.
Good. Keep up with me.
All right. So we'll finish off number 10, Cleveland Browns, the ever disappointing Cleveland Browns. Number 10 here, I go Javon Kinlaw, tackle out of South Carolina. We've already talked about him. You talked about Derek Brown. Both those guys I think are going to be good interior linemen. But really, this just meets a need. Their other need is offensive tackle and offensive line, but I have my 3 tackles already off the board, so you'd be reaching for anyone else a little bit too much. So, just address a need and pick up a good player right here.
Sure. No, I think that's a good pick. Kinlaw is not on my board, so I have them look, Baker needs some help. Baker was sacked a lot last year. I'm going Andrew Thomas at this pick. Just give him some help. Who knows what's going to happen with the Browns? They have so many weapons, but dysfunctional. Baker's you don't want to write him off too quick, but it's not promising. It didn't look good. He looks.
Yeah.
I listen to a lot of Cowherd, and I famously him and Baker have had some run-ins, but I'm kind of on Cowherd's side. Baker doesn't look like he's in good shape. He's a 6-foot quarterback, not very fast, not super mobile. And so it doesn't look good, but at least keep him upright. So draft Andrew Thomas. Heck, man, if I'm the Browns, I'm shopping Odell.
Yeah.
I know that the Vikings thing that appeared to be false, but there's still rumors that he could be traded. And where there's smoke, there's usually fire. I want to know from you. This is my second. I'm 49ers GM. Now you are Browns GM. If I call you and I say, hey, I'll give you pick 31 for Odell.
Pick 31 for Odell. I'd certainly try to get 13.
Yeah.
31 for Odell. I think I would. Yeah. Because I don't think I really want Odell on my team if I'm a Browns GM, honestly. And I just think you just need some help.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'd be good with that. Give you another chance to get a tackle later on. Just get some more help. Mm-hmm. So I'd consider it. Yeah.
It's not out of the realm of possibility, at least if you're GM.
Do you want Odell as a 49er? I mean, I know there's wide receivers in need, which we'll get to in the next episode, but
I don't think you're going to find a player at 31 that's going to do what Odell does. I just think Odell with Baker is just not a good fit, and that's not Odell's fault. But I also think if things go wrong, Odell's going to let you hear about it. You know what I mean? So that's why I think with the Browns, he's not good. With the Niners, I mean, just imagine Odell playing for Coach Kyle Shanahan. He's not going to be misused. He's going to get the ball in his hands. My biggest hang up with Odell is his contract. But I think that there's ways to figure that out. And I think you're in a window right now with San Francisco, obviously, that I would do it. If they would give me Odell for 31 straight up, I would. No way at 13 would I do that because I also have to pay him. Mm-hmm. But I think at 31 for sure, I would pull the trigger on that. I just would. And then that frees me up at 13 if I decide to stay there. Now I don't feel pressure to go get a receiver. I can go cornerback. I could go defensive line, whatever I feel like I need to do. Tackle maybe.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. So man, so a lot of excitement in the top 10 here. I'm excited for Thursday, all around one. Excited for tomorrow as well to get the rest of this round one down, man. This was fun.
This was a good time. It's going to be unpredictable. And I think I read a report the other day. I think it was someone from Good Morning Football had said they were texting GMs and GMs like look at mock drafts and the GM told this person like all the mock drafts the media have done this year are way more off and inaccurate than they've been in the last 5 or 10 years. And a lot of that's because we're doing this all virtual. Guys haven't had workouts, that type of deal. But it sounds like people are wrong with how they're ranking a lot of these players, which means there's going to be a lot of surprises. I imagine a lot of trades. This feels like a draft where there's going to be a lot of movement, and I can't wait. But you're right. Tomorrow's going to be good too. We're going to finish it off. Neither of our teams picked in today's mock draft. It felt weird. So this is going to be a fun deal, then going forward tomorrow.
Yeah, but it is a good thing that neither of our teams picked in the top 10. It's usually a good sign.
That's true. That's true. So good deal.
All right. So yeah, this was fun, man. Video podcast was fun. Thanks for tuning in, fans. And we will see you for episode 2, back at it, and then just getting ready for the draft on Thursday.
Yes, sir. We'll see you next time, Gut Check Nation.